This is the podcast for fans, by fans. Welcome to Jersey Talk. This is the 5-star podcast that breaks down weekly news sports, and we routinely trash the Houston Texans. With me is Basant, the tech genius Gaur.
What's up, guys?
And you, am I saying your last name right?
Yeah, it is Gaur.
Oh, okay, cool. I always feel like I mess it up.
Yeah.
And you know who it is. It's me. It's Kyle, the Oracle. This week we got a baker's dozen with the weekly hooks, and of course we got a top 5 list. Keep listening to find out what it is. Just a little housekeeping. Due to coronavirus, we're recording from our homes. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see our beautiful faces just due to technical limitations. That's kind of a good thing because I'm covered in paint right now and my hair is tied up. I look like a mess right now. I don't know about you. But we will still provide you with the number 1 sports podcast in the entire world. Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Today, I just wanted to shout out. Today, I am wearing a John Elway Stanford jersey. Basant, are you rocking anything today?
Of course, you know I got on the Saquon Barkley throwback jersey.
Ooh, God. I crap on the Giants a lot, but those are some of the nicest jerseys in the NFL.
They really are.
Like, especially their throwbacks, man. Those things are beautiful. Follow us on Twitter at Jersey Talk 20, and if we get anything wrong, or miss anything, tweet at us with a hashtag
Fire Gar Packs.
Jersey. Nope. No. We are retiring hashtag Fire Gar Packs.
Really?
And now it is hashtag Jersey Wrong. We'll get into why later. The hashtag, just to clarify, it is hashtag Jersey Wrong. JERSEYWRONG. The hashtag lets us know it's a correction or something missing. Wait, did I spell that wrong?
No, you got it. I was imitating the Trump wrong.
Oh, you said wrong, so I'm like, wait, did I get something wrong?
No.
The hashtag lets us know if it's a correction or we're missing something you guys want us to talk about. We're on YouTube as well. Subscribe and like at Jersey Talk. Till all this is till all the coronavirus stuff is over, or we find a way to get our lovely faces on YouTube. We're not there right now, but all of our earlier episodes are. So if you want a little throwback, I highly recommend go checking those out. Before we get into weekly hooks, I just want to bring up why we're retiring the hashtag FireGuard packs. We're starting with the before we get into weekly hooks, I want to give an update on why we're retiring hashtag FireGuard packs. It has been reported that by Adrian Wojnarowski, so pretty credible source, that the Chicago Bulls are officially moving on. No official firings yet of either the president or GM of the Chicago Bulls, but they are officially moving in the direction of looking for a new president of basketball operations. And I'm expecting they did this because this is the perfect time. There have been reports they were moving in that direction anyways. Some candidates that have been thrown out there are the current Nuggets GM and Sam Presti of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Basant, I just want to ask you, do you agree it's about damn time the Bulls make this move?
About damn time. And, I feel for Bulls fans. I know that you as a Bulls fan, have been very frustrated with the entire situation of the organization. So, without a doubt, I feel like it will be a very refreshing start. Hopefully, the season will be back soon, and hopefully they have a new hire by then.
Yeah, no, the Bulls season was, I don't want to say it was over, but it wasn't going in the right direction when the season was canceled or put on hold. Now we'll continue with some NBA news. This week, today actually, NBA 2K is holding a players-only tournament. It will air on ESPN. Headlining it is Kevin Durant, Trae Young, and Devin Booker. I think this is a great way to put out content on top of a distraction for people, NBA related. How do you feel about them having a 2K tournament?
Oh, it's definitely exciting. It's definitely a lot different now that everyone is stuck at home, so ESPN, they have to find ways to just make money. And hopefully with them partnering up with 2K, a lot of people will definitely be watching, and it'll be a fun time. It's definitely something unique.
Yeah, definitely something I'm going to check out tonight, and I highly recommend everyone else. We'll keep going with NBA, but I also wanted to bring up Madden did a very similar thing recently, and Derwin James came on top. I believe yesterday is when he officially won.
Yeah.
And I watched some of the games, and Derwin James might be like the best Madden player I've ever seen. Like
Possibly, yeah.
Like he's crazy. Like he's really freaking good.
Who did he come down to in the final round? Was it him and Tyreek Hill?
I want to say yeah, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Keeping it going with the NBA, Nets GM Sean Mark has confirmed players are symptom-free after testing positive. This is including Kevin Durant. This is a great sign for the Nets organization and league. This is also followed by the Lakers. All their players are symptom-free now as well. Basant, I'll turn to you and just ask, how do you feel about coronavirus's impact on the NBA right now? And yeah.
As of now, so the way that everything was handled by Adam Silver deciding to pull the plug on the NBA, it was definitely a smart move. He handled the situation a lot better before it really got out of hand. We kind of saw with the whole situation with Donovan Mitchell that also got transpired by the entire diagnosis. So I feel like with Adam Silver pulling the plug at the right time had a lot to do with this. And it definitely was the right move, and I'm glad that everyone's doing well.
Because I feel like if the NBA didn't pull the plug as when they did this, I don't think we would be getting this news. No. That's why I wanted to ask that question. Great answer. The highly anticipated ESPN documentary, The Last Dance, is debuting early on April 19th. ESPN was bullied by Twitter to release it early. It is a documentary following the 98 Bulls, the Michael Jordan's last year with the organization. And it's going to be a deep dive into one of the most fascinating teams and dynasties ever. Yep. Son, how excited are you for this?
I'm very excited, but I can definitely tell that you're a lot more excited, obviously being a Bulls fan. So just a little bit of recap about this series. It's going to be a 10-part documentary just going over the life of Michael Jordan, but specifically it's going to be about his final season as a Chicago Bull, which was the 97-98 season. Just some things one thing I'm really excited about, there were some rumors going around on Twitter that this will cover Michael Jordan's relationship with Kobe Bryant, which I'm very interested to find out where it was at that point of time.
Yeah, because if you follow Michael or Kobe, you knew that they were extremely close to each other. And I mean, if you watch Kobe's memorial and saw the way MJ talked about him, you'd think he'd be talking about one of his children or one of his siblings.
Right.
So there was an extremely close relationship there I can't tell you how excited I am for this. We're going to see never before seen footage. I really hope we get to see Steve Kerr getting punched. Are you familiar with that story?
Yes.
So if you're unfamiliar with that story, and Steve Kerr has gone out and said this. There's a story that one day in practice, Michael Jordan decided to punch Steve Kerr in the face, and I'm just very interested if there's any video of that, and I would love to see it. I just think it would be funny. Speaking of front offices, Knicks are looking at New York Knicks are looking at Elton Brand, the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers, as their new GM. He still has a year left on his deal. So if they wanted him, it would be by a buyout or trade. I think the interest is because he tends to overpay power forwards, which is a big thing for the Knicks right now. Basant, I'll turn to you and ask, how would you feel if they hired Elton Brand?
I would feel okay about this. Elton Brand, he is someone who brought in a lot of key players to the Sixers roster. I believe he was part of the Jimmy Butler trade, and
Yes.
he brought in a lot of good guys. And the Knicks currently, they do have talent, but they are in desperate need of a superstar mentor for the young roster that they have. And Elton Brand, he's a very young guy as well. So hopefully, with him in talks of potentially coming to the Knicks, it will boost some excitement for the team. And
yeah, I will say this. I know I made the joke about them overpaying for Al Horford and Tobias Harris. That's who I was referencing. But I actually do think he's at least I think he's capable at his job, unlike other Knicks GMs in the past. But the pairing of him and Leon Rose will definitely bring respectability to the Knicks, as long as James Dolan doesn't get in the way.
Right.
Also, I know there's a lot of negativity surrounding James Dolan, but keep him in mind, keep him in your prayers, guys, too, because he has contracted coronavirus. I believe he has said he's symptom free, but you never know with that stuff. So just, I know there's a lot of negativity around him, but he's still a human being. Let's hope for the best with him. Now, moving on to the NFL. And a quarterback prospect, Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback from Alabama, has said, quote, "I feel 100%," end quote, referencing his hip injury, and that he could play a game today if he had to. Basant, given that Tua says he's healthy now, if you had the number 1 overall pick and Tua was completely healthy and Joe Burrow is completely healthy, who would you pick?
I would still go with Joe Burrow, simply because of the fact that this whole situation that is currently in our society, we are not able to fully tell whether he is 100%. He could say that he's 100%. And I know for a fact that, he came down here to Nashville. He actually visited one of the Tennessee Titans doctors and got a physical done with them. And, he cleared it out, so there's no big deal on that. But the ability of teams not being able to see his performance, like, inviting him out to, just do some workouts and, just doing fun stuff like that. It's kind of hard to make that decision. Yeah. So based on my current analytics and just my current prediction, I feel like the Bengals will still go with Joe Burrow.
Okay. I can't. I mean, I can't argue with that. Joe Burrow had one of the single greatest seasons ever. To be honest, though, if they were both completely healthy, I might go with Tua, just because there's more of a sample size there, and I just like what Tua could bring to the table. But that's if he's completely healthy, and given the circumstances right now, that's really hard to find out. And we can keep going with this conversation, actually, because this is impacting NFL free agents like Michael Brockers and Eli Apple. Michael Brockers was set to join the Ravens, but they couldn't get his physical done due to the coronavirus, so he re-signed with the Rams, and Eli Apple couldn't finalize that deal with the Raiders. So now he's a free agent again, and Todd Gurley is stuck in a very similar situation where that deal can't become official till he gets a physical, and given his circumstances, that's a huge deal due to the arthritis in his knee, and so he's just kind of in limbo right now because he's self-quarantining in L.A. Brady's move isn't even official yet because they're pending a physical for him. So we clearly have seen that the coronavirus is already impacting NFL, and it's only a matter of time before this will have substantial impact on the NFL draft, OTAs, and maybe even the beginning of the season.
For sure.
So yeah, it's crazy. So I'll just ask you right now: do you think the NFL season is going to start when it usually does in August and September?
I think it will, strictly because of the fact that I don't think that this will last very long. The whole coronavirus situation. I feel like hopefully by midsummer, it will be completely dissipated. There will be no new cases. So just fingers crossed. I think the only thing that will really get impacted is training and just basic OTAs and workouts and stuff. That's the only thing, but I feel like preseason and the regular season will still start on time.
Yep. I hope it does. I'm not even going to try and make a prediction because I just have no idea. I don't think I can. Keeping it going with free agency and all that news. The Nick Foles had his press conference today with the Chicago Bears, and they said some interesting comments regarding him and Mitch Trubisky, saying it will be an open competition. Mitch Trubisky will get the first team reps at the start, but they will split reps between the two with the first team, and that they're doing this in the best interest of the team. And I would just like to point this out to all the people that made fun of Ryan Pace after he said Mitch Trubisky's our quarterback when he was the only quarterback on the roster. Once again, the Oracle strikes again.
Mm-hmm.
Basant, I want to ask you about the Bears' open competition between Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky.
I don't even think it's fair to even bring up that question. You're comparing a Super Bowl MVP to someone who turned out to be a complete bum. I don't think Mitch Trubisky is going to start at the start of the season. I feel like it will be Nick Foles. So I don't think it... I really don't think there's much to really say about that. I mean, it is what it is for Mitch Trubisky, unfortunately. I feel like he'll just be the backup, and I really don't even think that he'll get his fifth-year option.
Yeah, no, Ryan Pace was pretty stern on because they asked him about his fifth-year option, and he was pretty stern on it. We will get to that in May. So if I had to take a good guess, yeah, they're probably not going to pick up that fifth-year option. And I want to say Mitch Trubisky's a bum. If you want to go call him a bust, I won't argue that there's an argument there. I won't call him a bum. A bum would be like Jamarcus Russell. At least you could say Mitch Trubisky had like one pretty good year. I think the talent's still there. It's just for some reason he can't just put it together, and I think that's because of his lack of experience. He only started one season in college.
Yeah, it was
college
10
football.
games.
Yeah, so he just doesn't have the experience yet, and I think that's playing a huge impact. And yeah, you get someone like Nick Foles, who that's his MO, is his all the experience he has. Like if you look at everything he's gone through the NFL, it's up and down, up and down, up and down. While he's just been just steady. So it will be very interesting to see how that competition goes, because I would like to think they are being genuine with it being an open competition.
No, of course. I mean, they have to be professional about it too, because you can't just be like, okay, one day we're just gonna let our first round pick, just walk just like that. Like you can't do that. It's not professional at all.
Yeah, no, and if you guys want to check out the it wasn't a press conference. It was like a phone call they did, because obviously they can't do a press conference. But they set up the idea. They talked to both the guys, and they're both perfect with it. Like Mitch is perfectly okay with it. And by the way, they were talking. It sounds like he's actually pretty excited for it, but I don't know how much of that's true or not. That could just be media bullcrap. But it'll be, as a Bears fan, it'll be a very interesting situation to keep an eye on, because I'm with you. I think Nick Foles will be the week one starter, but I mean, imagine if Mitch Trubisky does win out. Like, what does that say about? Like, that will be an interesting scenario if Mitch Trubisky beats out Nick Foles, because either then that shows Mitch Trubisky has finally grown up, or that maybe the Bears and Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy are in over their head, like some people have implied. Moving on to continuing with free agency and stuff. Aldon Smith, former 49er and All-Pro, will sign with the Cowboys after he is reinstated. This is a 1-year, $4 million deal. Aldon Smith had the most sacks in his first 2 seasons of any NFL player, and he had the NFL rookie pressure record till 49ers rookie Nick Bosa broke it last year. So Basant, as a Giants fan, and I know you have some opinions on this signing, I'll just turn to you and ask you, how do you think football-wise and off-the-field-wise this is going to work?
So Aldon Smith, obviously we all know of his history. He was involved in many altercations off the field, and unfortunately that led to his downfall of his NFL career. He bounced around from the 49ers to the Ravens, where he was later released by the Ravens due to him being arrested by a hit and run, I believe it was. But
you mean the Raiders?
Raiders, sorry, not Ravens.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're fine.
So, it's a lot of trouble off the field, and again, you did point out that he did have the record for the most sacks in the first 2 NFL seasons, which is very quite impressive. I mean, given that this guy was a first-round pick. But, I was very concerned for this man. I never wish anything negative upon anybody. So hopefully, this comes to his name as somewhat of a comeback story. And, just like a happy ending, so to speak. And I'll definitely say this, that having DeMarcus Lawrence and Aldon Smith go up against my offensive line and Daniel Jones, it'll definitely be a little interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And I think I'm not going to speak to off the field. I don't know, but Jay Glazer did put his name on the line to get this guy back reinstated, and so did Mike McCarthy. And those are say what you want as Mike McCarthy is good as a football coach. He's a great person and a great dude. So, and Jay Glazer, I don't need to speak on. He's one of the most respectable reporters and people in the business. So if those guys are putting their names out for this guy, I don't think that will be a concern going forward. And the football scheme, I'm really interested in this because Jim Tonsula was the defensive line coach with the 49ers, and now he's with the Cowboys. So if Aldon Smith can make that comeback like we're talking about and get back to even half the player he once was, this would be the place he can do it at. Yeah. So,
and I just wanted to point one thing out before we head on to break. This is a very low-risk, high-reward situation. Obviously, they only paid him. What was the contract detail again? It was 1 year.
1 year, $4 million deal. I don't have any info on guarantees or if there's any incentives.
Okay, but then again, this guy was in and out of rehab. I'm pretty sure he's been sober for as long as we can know. Again, just fingers crossed, hoping for the best, and hope it's a happy ending for him.
I agree. So, like Basant said, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Here is a word from our sponsor. All right, and we're back. Continuing with the Weekly Hooks, where this is our recap of the weekly news. The Texans finally made a move that I think we both can agree on. They signed, actually. They signed Tim Jernigan, defensive tackle, to a 1 year, $3 million deal. It looks like they found the replacement for DJ Reader. Like I just said, I really like this signing, and I think you do too, Basant, as well, from what I've gathered. Speaking of the Texans, Bill O'Brien came out and said that that DeAndre Hopkins, that move was in the best interest of the team, and that it sounds like the reason they did trade him is he came to them for a contract extension when he had 3 years left on his deal. And that was a big no-no for Bill O'Brien. So instead of trying to work that out, they just decided to move on. I still don't get that trade, but we won't get hung up on that. They made a move that we like. Let's stick to the positives. Speaking of the AFC South, the Titans continue to be in contact with Jadeveon Clowney's agent. It's looking like it's coming down to the Seattle Seahawks and the Tennessee Titans for the star pass rusher. Basant, I would like to ask you, how do you feel about the football fit due to Mike Vrabel being the defensive coordinator in the Houston Texans when Clowney was there?
You could definitely see the connection there, and obviously with DeAndre Hopkins, or with not Hopkins, with my bad. Who are we talking about again? Sorry, Clowney. Sorry.
Yeah.
With Clowney, you do see the connection with the AFC South and his connection with Vrabel. I just don't see Clowney being that much of a benefit to the Titans, because we can both agree that the Titans, they have possibly the top 10 defense.
Yeah, they're right around that ballpark. Yeah,
right. So with a player like Clowney, he's definitely going to be asking for a ton of money, probably $20 million plus. So
that's what it sounded like.
Being in the Titans chair, I don't see it being worth having Clowney on my roster. Saying that you have players like Jack Conklin who just left on the offensive line, like you have other spots to fill up. And me personally, I just don't think that with the standing of their defense currently, I don't see it being worth for that price.
Yeah, my issue with signing Clowney is, and I would like to see. It would be interesting to see Clowney go there, and I think it could work and have a similar impact. That I'm not comparing the players, but it would have a similar impact on like a Mac did on the Chicago Bears defense, where the previous year they were hovering right around top 10 defensively. Excuse me, and they traded for Mack, and like the Titans would sign Clowney, and that elevated their defense. The only problem is if they sign Clowney, I don't see any way of them bringing back Logan Ryan, who outside Kevin Byard is their maybe not their best secondary player, but I would say most important because he's kind of the engine that makes everything run, and that's when it comes to their cornerbacks.
Right.
So
And,
I did
and,
that. Yeah, sorry, continue.
and not just that, like you have to think about the biggest man in the room too. We got to think about Derrick Henry. He's due for a contract extension as well, and he's definitely going to be asking for Zeke territory numbers. So it's not like you have other priorities that you need to fill out. You can't be focusing on players that are not even on your team.
Yeah, and it's sounding like they're going to re-sign him to a long-term deal too, because he recently signed the franchise tag, and I don't think he would have done that unless a long-term deal was. They were getting close to that, especially with John Robinson's recent comments of him saying they want to keep Derrick Henry long-term. So I just think they're starting to get the ball rolling on that. So, yeah, this Clowney situation has become a lot more complicated than it really needed to be. I thought he was just going to re-sign with Seattle pretty fast, but I guess it's taken a lot longer than that. It'll be very interesting to see what his numbers are when he finally does sign a contract.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now the last bit of news I want to get into before we can get into table talk is the NFL has expanded its playoff to 7 teams in each conference, and that the number one seed is the only team that will receive a bye, meaning that the second seed will no longer have a bye. This is pretty big because there's been only a few instances where a team without a bye has actually made the Super Bowl. So it makes the number one seed so much more valuable, and it keeps the end of the season and even going more in the middle of the season way more interesting now as well. If it was already interesting, but now this is just adding more to it. And just saying this, given these rules last year, Bears would have made the playoffs. Mitch Trubisky, 2-time playoff quarterback. Just saying.
That's a funny comment. I like that.
Yeah. But, dude, how do you feel about them expanding the playoffs?
I feel like it'll bring more excitement to the NFL playoff scenario. Like, obviously, we did have 2 teams originally with bye weeks, and that was okay. But obviously, as you pointed out, with only 1 team now having a bye, it does bring a lot more value to that spot, and it's a lot more deserving for teams that actually do come up with the highest record in each division.
Yeah. And I know I said that was going to be the last thing we talked about table talk, but before we got into table talk. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to Rex Ryan for being a dumbass.
Oh God!
If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go check on Jersey Talk Twitter. He made some. I'll go as far as say he made some rude comments towards Amari Cooper that I don't think were needed. You're familiar with what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. He commented on Amari Cooper's football character, and it's just. I don't think the guy, he's clearly never met the dude, and this is example A of why he's behind a TV and not in front of a football team. So,
and I just wanted to point out, like he essentially what he ended up doing, because he called him out. He said that he's a player who does not perform well on the road, and he he doesn't run routes properly, and there was a lot of aggression in that statement. And, I did look on Twitter, and someone had posted a stat detail of Amari Cooper versus DeAndre Hopkins. And it's safe to say that Amari Cooper did have the better season than DeAndre Hopkins did. He had, 36 less receptions than Hopkins, yet he had more receiving yards, and he had 1 extra touchdown than Hopkins. So I really don't see where his frustration was even coming from in this argument.
That was my thing. It's just it's fine if you want to critique a player, but the way he went about it was almost unprofessional. And hey, guys, I get it. We can be unprofessional sometimes too, but we're not ESPN. This is a podcast for fans by fans. We're not some journalistic experts like they're claiming to be. And most of them, they are. I'm not discrediting them. It's just with Rex Ryan, these comments I believe were out of bounds, and some of the things he just said were untrue. Like
Yeah.
the big game thing, he plays for the Dallas Cowboys. Every game for them is in a big game. They're on prime time every week. So I don't know where, like you said, I don't know where this aggression came from.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to comment about his time with the Raiders, yeah, outside his rookie year, it was a rough patch, but like that's more of the Raiders than him, I think. And yeah, if you look at the numbers, they're there. And it just, yeah, I think these guys need to meet these players first before they make comments like this, because I think that really opens up their opinions on them, and really shows who they are as a character or person, and shows their character. So we'll get into table talk now. This is where we have open-end discussions about anything ranging from sports, just life, what we're doing, coronavirus, and this week, our table topic is going to be our top 5 movies. Nothing to do with sports, obviously. We're doing this because while everyone's locked inside, we thought we'd recommend some movies for everyone to watch if they can get access to them. And we here love movies. Like I am going to film school. I'm taking online classes right now, and I know Basant is well versed in cinema as well. I just thought this would be fun with.
Oh yeah, for
sports
sure.
being
and
canceled
now
right
that
now.
everyone is stuck at home, we have a very good list of movies that you can potentially watch.
Guys, trust me, you're not going to find a top five list that are better than this anywhere else. Now that being said, these aren't the 5 best movies ever made. I will argue that one of them is, and Basant probably will too. But these are personally just our favorite movies that we can just watch we can watch whenever, given any set of circumstances. How we'll do is how we usually do things like this. We'll go back and forth between. So I'll do my number 5, he'll do his number 5, and then we'll go 4, 4, 3, 3, so on and so on. But before we get into that, I just want to shout out 2 movies. I want to shout out John Wick. The reason I didn't put it on my list is I couldn't pick between any of the 3 movies, and I feel like if I did, I'd be robbing them. So the John Wick franchise as a whole is, personally, I think the greatest action trilogy that's ever been made.
Keanu
I know
Reeves
they're
has a
making a
big
4th
part.
one. Oh yeah, Keanu Reeves. I mean, he's insane. He's one of the best dudes in Hollywood and one of the best action stars ever. And then another movie I wanted to give a shout out to was Logan. This is my second favorite superhero movie of all time. It's it's Hugh Jackman's last movie as Wolverine, and the ending makes me tear up every goddamn time. And like I said, both movies almost made my list. But Basant, did you have anything that almost made your list that you want to give a shout out to?
No, I think I
Okay.
just have my top 5 that I'll discuss.
Okay, cool. Right on. So we'll get right into it. Basant, we'll start with your number 5.
So my number 5 is The Social Network. This movie actually just got put onto Netflix, which is amazing. It stars Jesse Eisenberg, Andrew Garfield, Justin Timberlake, which I absolutely hated his role. But this story is about Mark Zuckerberg and the creation of the Facebook, which is later renamed Facebook. And it's a great movie, Kyle. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah, Social Network. I remember seeing that in the movie theaters with my pops.
Yeah, it's definitely a great movie. And if you don't know about the story of how Facebook was created, there's a lot of drama involved. And this movie's kind of like a documentary, but the acting in this is just amazing. It's if you've seen OJ, are you familiar with OJ versus the People, the Netflix series? Yes.
It's very similar to that. If you've watched that, guys, it's a drama. Oh, what? They dramatize it, but it is it is incredibly accurate to what actually happened. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like you were saying, Jesse Eisenberg is incredible in it. Justin Timberlake plays. I just want to punch him in the face every time he's on screen. So clearly he's doing a good job. And then Andrew Garfield as well is in it, and he's incredible as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great movie following how Facebook was invented and the trouble that happened because of the invention of Facebook. Mm-hmm. My number 5 is Django Unchained. This movie is made by Quentin Tarantino. He's one of my favorite directors, if not my favorite director. He hasn't made a good movie or bad movie. He's only made greats. I don't think this is his best movie. We can argue that another day, but this is the one I have watched the most and I can watch the most. It's hilarious. The action in it is great. The acting is just phenomenal. And I mean, who's not a sucker for a good Western with Christoph Waltz, Jamie Foxx, and Leonardo DiCaprio? I mean, hell, Samuel L. Jackson is a racist black dude in it. Yeah. That alone should sell you on the movie. Oh God, it's a fantastic movie. Basant, what's your favorite Tarantino movie?
Oh, Tarantino.
If you don't have one on your list.
Django Unchained has to be one of them. Shoot. I guess Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's also really great.
Yeah, that's his most recent one. Yeah, that one. I came down between Django Unchained, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't say Pulp Fiction.
See, that's the thing. That is his best movie. It's just there's something that I connect more towards those other movies for me as well. That being said, though, if I could have lived in the moment of when Pulp Fiction came out, I probably would say Pulp Fiction.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, what's your number 4?
My number 4, it's a bit of a classic. It's Forrest Gump, starring Tom Hanks. And I know that Tom Hanks, he has a very special role in your heart, you being a diehard Toy Story fan.
Oh, yeah.
But first time I watched Forrest Gump was in middle school, and it's, been one of my favorite movies ever since. What about you? How do you feel about this?
No, I love Forrest Gump. Fun fact about it is the first time I actually watched it was my senior year of high school. So not too long ago, about 2-3 years ago. Yeah, I know. Kind of an old, uncultured screwball, but it's a fantastic movie. It's one of Tom Hanks' best movies, if not his best movie, acting wise. And it's incredibly emotional. It's an emotional roller coaster. We can all quote that movie. Run, Forrest, run! It's a fantastic movie.
Great movie.
Like Lieutenant Dan, Jenny, all that stuff. It's one of the most quotable movies ever. I'll go into my number 4. It is Blade Runner 2049. I'm a sucker for sci-fi, and this is one of the most visual pleasing movies you'll ever watch. Just the colors, the production, the sets, it's insane, man. It's Ryan Gosling. It's Ryan Gosling, and I know everyone's a sucker for Ryan Gosling, and I personally think this is his best movie acting wise, and it's got Harrison Ford in it. He's a living legend. Come on, Han Solo, Indiana Jones, and Deckard Cain. Who's had cooler names in movies? You've seen Blade Runner 2049, right?
I have, but I wanted to ask you this: have you seen the original Blade Runner?
Oh yeah, with Harrison Ford. Yeah, because I had not seen it before. I watched it right before this movie came out. Everyone talked about it. I knew it was a cult classic. I was never able to get my hands on it, and I finally did because of my excitement level for this movie. And no, that movie is incredible. It's on Netflix. If you want to watch Blade Runner 2049, definitely recommend watching the original Blade Runner because that is a continuation of this story. And the whole idea is, because I know a lot of people aren't familiar with it, is Blade Runner is about, there's these cops called Blade Runners who hunt down androids in this universe, and Ryan Gosling stumbles onto a mystery that revolves around the plot of the first movie 20 years after the events. So it's a very interesting sci-fi mystery movie that just twists and turns your head. It's fantastic. Basant, what is your number 3?
My number 3 has to be The Dark Knight. Directed by Christopher Nolan, starring none other than Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Gary Oldman, Heath Ledger. This cast is just insane, and this is by far my favorite Batman movies ever made. You can argue otherwise, but...
there's no arguing that is the best Batman ever made. I love Batman in 1989. That movie's fantastic, but Dark Knight's one of the greatest movies ever made, period. So,
yep. What's your number 3?
Before I move on, I just want to give a shout out to rest in peace Heath Ledger, but to me, that's probably the greatest acting performance I've ever seen on a screen.
For sure.
Yeah, his Joker was phenomenal. My number three won't shock anyone if you know me. It might, because you probably expect it to be higher, is none other than Star Wars Episode 5, Empire
Wow.
Strikes Back. Everyone, if you know me, you know how much I love Star Wars. It's pretty much a part of my life. I have a replica lightsaber. I got Star Wars stuff all over my room. Empire Strikes Back to me is one of the greatest movies of all time. I think it's top 10, top 5. We can really get in that discussion another time. And it has one of the biggest plot twists in cinema history with Darth Vader revealing that he is Luke's father. Spoiler alert, sorry. It's a 40-year-old movie. If you don't know, get out. And the fact that the Yoda reveal is second in that movie shows you the greatness of that movie. Because in any other movie, that is the biggest reveal, finding out who Yoda actually is. So it's incredible. I mean, it might have the greatest line in cinema history. I know.
Yeah.
Like,
I can argue with that.
it's just such a fantastic movie. And yeah, like I said earlier, it's got Harrison Ford, and he's a living legend, man, to me at least. What's your number two, Basant?
My number two, it won't shock many people. If you know me personally, you'll know this. It's Inception. Again, directed by none other than Christopher Nolan. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and this movie is one that you have to pay close attention to. You need to watch this movie sober. I believe this movie is also on Netflix. Like, there's just so much going on in this movie, and the cinematography and the CGI, it's just mind-blowing. Have you seen Inception, Kyle?
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite movies. If we did a top 10 list, it'd be my top 10. I wanted to ask you, have you seen how they did that fight scene with Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah, they had him in a box that actually physically rotated.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
Yeah, the things they did for that movie was insane, and yeah, the whole concept of that movie that movie is an achievement in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. I mean, it's Christopher Nolan at his best, and he's one of, if not the greatest director of all time.
For sure.
My number. We're on 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I lost count. My bad. Number 2 on my list is an '80s cult classic, directed by John Hughes. It is Breakfast Club, and if you have a problem with this, you can eat my shorts. I've watched this. I can watch this movie anytime, anywhere. I have a very personal connection with this movie. I like this the scene when John explains his home life with his father. It gets me every time, and it's one of my favorite scenes in any motion picture. Period. Basant, are you familiar with Breakfast Club?
I've heard many things about it. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I just never came across and saw it.
Yeah. If you because I know a lot more people have probably seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it's not the same vibe as that movie. Well, it kind of is. It's about high schoolers in detention, but it's directed by the same person. So if you enjoy Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I think there's something for you in Breakfast Club as well. Or if you just enjoy like good high school movies, like it's really good. So I'll turn to you and ask you, what is your number 1 movie?
So, as many as you know, there's a very obvious Christopher Nolan train that's going with me. So my number 1 has to be Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan. This movie is starring Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Michael Caine.
Chastain. Yeah.
Jessica Chastain. This movie is about basically the world ending, and
they have to go interstellar.
Yeah, the humanity needs to be saved. That's essentially the main role in this movie. And this movie, I watched this movie in theaters, and my mind was blown.
The reason you need to watch this movie, guys, is first of all, it's an emotional roller coaster. Just due to, we don't want to spoil anything because once you get into that, you just can't give away spoilers with this movie. But yeah, there's the scene with Matthew McConaughey and his daughter. You know exactly which one I'm talking about.
Yep.
About like halfway through the movie, that scene's an emotional roller coaster. Everyone's seen the picture. It's the one of Matthew McConaughey crying. And then the ending of that movie, the way they deal with the world, how the world changing and so on is. I remember watching that with my dad, and I wasn't expecting it to go in that direction.
I was not
and
either.
Just to be sitting in the writing room coming up with that is just someone to be capable of doing that is insane.
Yeah.
So the ending. I mean, and with all great movies, the ending is always what makes them. And I can't talk about this movie enough. I love that pick. So I'll go into my number one movie, and this is gonna this is gonna surprise you probably. My number one movie is a superhero movie. It's an animated movie too. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Have you seen this movie?
Of course I have. It's a great movie.
Hey, I still know people that have not seen this movie that are in our friend group, and it's a real shame. I've pretty much forced everyone I know to watch this movie. This is my favorite movie, period. First of all, it's a Spider-Man movie with 6 different Spider-Mans. And this movie has never made me feel more emotions. This movie will make in the very beginning gets you so hyped, and then makes you cry, and then gets you so hyped again. It's the emotional roller coaster that is this movie is absurd. And there's one scene in it, and it's between Miles and a certain character.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which one I'm talking about halfway through the movie, and it gets me every time. The music, every time. It's fantastic. And just what they were able to do with the animation in this is, I think, one of the greatest achievements in cinema. And the voice acting talent that is associated with this movie is some of the best you ever find. You got Nicolas Cage as one of the Spider-Man. You got John Mulaney as one of the Spider-Man.
Jake Johnson.
Yeah, you got Jake Johnson. You got Chris Pine as the OG Spider-Man in this. Oh my God, Oscar Isaac even shows up in this movie at some point as a Spider-Man. I mean, come on, it's got Peter Porker in it. It doesn't get funnier than that. John Mulaney is a pig that did as a spider. It's Spider-Man. It's just
Spider-Ham.
Yeah, Spider. Yeah, he goes Spider. It's fantastic. Yeah, I can gush about this movie all day. It's on Netflix, so everyone, if you have not seen this movie, go watch it. If you've seen this movie, go watch it again, because I can already tell you that's what I'm doing after we get done talking about it. It's such a great movie. Do you? I just would like to ask. I love your list, but I would just like to ask you, how do you feel about my list, and how do you feel about my number one pick?
Oh, your number one. I'm for sure gonna go back and watch it tonight. I'm glad that's on Netflix. So I haven't seen it since it came out of movies or in the movie theaters. Because my friend Nick, when I first showed him, he didn't know this, but the main character of the movie is Miles Morales, and if you're unfamiliar with he is the African American Spider-Man, and he's nothing. I don't want to say he's nothing like Peter Parker. There's a lot of similarities between them, but this is a very different style than what people are accustomed to with Spider-Man, and I think that's why it is so appealing. And I forget to mention it, but the soundtrack, is just fantastic. Yeah. So that's all for this week. We talked movies and sports, and it doesn't get much better than that. I don't know about y'all. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at JerseyTalk20, and keep washing those hands 24/7. Keep practicing social distance, and please, guys, don't be a dumbass. Please stay safe.
Yeah, please stay safe. Please stay healthy. And as always, stay classy, Chicago.